let's start with my pet peeve zone, which is China. If you'll notice, there was a story. Let me see if I can bring it up. Um, there was a story today. Um, I can type. Hold on. That somewhere in the order of, yeah, the FBI arrested two New Yorkers, 50 across the country, on a. Let me find like a full article where I can show it to you. Um, really, really fucking randomy kind of thing. But I've talked about it before, and the guys on the China show talk about it. You know, they've been on this beat for a while, and this is the FBI arrests two men for running secret Chinese police station in New York. Um, the Chinese, they were working for the CCP directly, the government, and they set up these fake. I mean, we would call them fake. I think they're very real in terms of the impact that they have on the Chinese people that are here on a visa, studying, or anybody who moved here or immigrated here, and then they try to snatch them back. But a lot of what these were for were to intimidate anybody who was a dissident or anybody who was pro democracy, helping people in Hong Kong. You know, anybody they saw as a anti CCP propagandist or what have you, they would make their lives hell. They would, and the people in these cities would have to live in fear of this kind of fake Chinese police station being able to like snatch them off the street and arrest them, and extradite them out of the country under threat of. And this happened in Vancouver a couple of times apparently, where they took people out of the country, out of Canada, um, and the people they took them all the way back to China, and under the threat that if you don't come with us, we're going to kill your family back home. Really awful shit, just awful. And they set up that I know of, Vancouver. I wouldn't doubt Toronto, but I didn't hear about any particular one. London for sure, Amsterdam, Berlin. They were setting these Chinese police stations up all over the place. Now, before, when I grew up, it used to be the Chinese benevolent societies, which is an adorable way of saying mob. Essentially, the Chinese benevolent societies, they didn't start out that way. A lot of times it was just an organization to help Chinese immigrants kind of fit in and meet people and build businesses and all the stuff you would hope exists, kind of like a chamber of commerce thing. And then after a while, they were just taken over by the triad or any particular, mobbed up criminal element that might form in the actual country. Because some of it was stuff tied back home, some of it was local. And there's a few of them, in LA's Chinatown, there are two of them there that I know of. There may be more. That's the thing. So there are two that have signs on the door. Okay. And then there's, in San Francisco, I know of one big one, but I don't, like Chinatown in San Francisco is a whole nother level, very much like Vancouver or like, the Richmond area north of Toronto in Canada, almost entirely Chinese diaspora, like I would say a fortress of just like Chinese culture, and it's impressive. Like I loved hanging out in those areas, and I still do. But I'm now more aware of how the CCP like saw that they were occurring, didn't like the idea that people could be Chinese anywhere in the world, and decided to start snatching them back. And that's what this has to do with. So this story obviously is a big part of the story. Recently that these guys got busted and 50 others along with them. Yeah, this is federal prosecutors also announced charges against dozens of others running a troll farm that spread propaganda and harassed Chinese dissidents and activists in the U.S. and elsewhere. These two guys ran the police station part of it, and then the other people just basically tormented Chinese people. The FBI has arrested two U.S. residents for operating a Chinese secret police station in New York. Prosecutors have charged nearly 3 dozen more people for running an online troll farm as part of a trio of law enforcement actions announced Monday. You mean Joe from Ohio isn't going to be online for a while? Rats. centered around the Chinese government's attempts to silence and harass dissidents and activists. The actions are part of a sustained effort by U.S. authorities to target the People's Republic of China's meddling in the U.S. and its broader campaign to suppress speech and hunt down dissidents. Now, I would say, and I think a lot of you would say, well, what the fuck are they paying Joe Biden for if this is what's going to happen? Because this shit's been around. I got news for you. These organizations, this strategy, this has been entrenched for a while. It was there. Maybe probably the last 2 years of the Obama administration it kicked up, but it went into overdrive during the Trump years. It was a sustained and meaningful strategy during that time. And either Trump didn't bother to know, like the weather balloons, like the spy balloons, or he did know and didn't give a fuck, or went, do what you got to do, just as long as I can pat myself on the back for a bullshit trade deal that I can allege no one else would have gotten, right? So it's a big thing. So it brings us to the whole this bullshit around this. You recognize this guy? He works at Fox News. He looks like a thumb in a suit. His name escapes me. And he, amongst others, are doing the flip out right now. Hannity, these countries are betting on China to be the world leader. And he's not the only one. There is, let's see, yeah. So there were a myriad of clips today. I didn't pull some of them out because it's all the same shit. And it goes to the deep and Biden question that I keep asking, which is, why would China pay Joe Biden billions of dollars to get treated like shit? Because we have never had a direct confrontation of the CCP, certainly during Xi Jinping's time in office, or in control of the CCP. I don't know, whatever. I'm not calling him president. So you know what I'm talking about? Like during that time, everybody was sort of, they were playing nice and trying to think the best of China because of the history of knowing that many people starved to death in China and businesses were doing very well there. And it seemed to be a you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours couple of decades with China. And then at some point, either through Xi Jinping becoming the guy running things or because he is of that ilk, they just decided to go fuck you and everybody that helped us. And it got gnarly real quick. In about 6 years, they decided to like seriously push their agenda. And they thought, during the Trump years, they got a good head start on this. And now this is all getting cleaned up. There's a lot of this stuff that is, they are undoing the Gordian knot that exists, not just the reshoring, moving factories back here or moving them to friendlier countries, but genuinely, this is a sea change in our relationship, and it's happening under Joe Biden. And it just doesn't make sense to me that they still sell this. Tom Cotton was saying it, I think, just yesterday, that that Biden's on the hook to China. We have never been harder on them, ever, since the Great Opening, since Nixon. We have not been this hard on China. Now, it's in a lot of people's estimation, it's long overdue, myself included, and especially after spending time there pre-COVID. And yeah, that's right, Diane. It's another dead talking point. So I don't know how they sell this thing, but they keep doing it. Let's hear what the thumb has to say. Here we go.
Biden spent the week
Hold on. Let's see if this is loud. Hold on.
As Biden spent the week embarrassing himself and the U.S. and Ireland, while China's
yes, making friends and I guess flogging Molly. And I am a little upset that he didn't have any of the members of like Kathmandu come out. We'll get over it.
This coalition grew even larger. Now, even fake news CNN, they are raising the alarm about the number of world leaders now.
or they're asking a question about it. We'll get to that in just a moment.
Rushing to meet with President Xi of China. So let me be very clear. These countries.
And by the way, Sean Hannity has a thing, just like Trump, where he sniffs when he's ignorant. He also sniffs when he's lying, and he knows he's lying. But a lot of times, the pretending you know what the fuck you're talking about while blathering on about anything, these things is in effect an awareness that you are bullshitting, awareness that you don't know what you're talking about, that you're lying. And so this whole, this is the thing I just found out, and people around me seem to,
have made a deliberate, calculated decision to side with China. In other words, they're betting on China.
They're betting on China to sell stuff cheap.
Being the dominant world leader in the world.
Well, you would have world leaders do tend to be in the world. I mean, I don't want to nitpick, but that's, it's a factor. World leaders don't tend to be on other planets.
You know what? That's not good for us.
Yes, what will we do if authoritarian leaders go to them to make mistakes and get in fights instead of having to deal with them?
Because it's always been the United States that they look to.
No. Well, some of them have looked to us as a fucking target. Thank you, Evelyn. I am a little bit.
They're seeing nothing but weakness under Joe Biden.
Are they?
Failed leadership under Joe Biden, and under President Trump, they saw strong leadership. That's
yes, because of the Abraham Accords, which it completely, by the way, like all of these countries think of this as a business-minded cash grab by Jared Kushner. The Abraham Accords are known throughout the Middle East as a business transaction that Jared Kushner pulled off that have fuck all to do with Donald Trump. Just keep that in mind. None of them think, oh, shit, well, Trump finally got everyone. You know those countries that weren't actually shooting at each other? He got them to stop not shooting. Or start stopping what they had stopped starting.
We saw a coalition that was built that I didn't think we'd ever see in our life.
Yeah, UAE, Bahrain, and Israel signed historic accords at the White House. Yes, September 15th, 2020. Who could forget the day when the bombs stopped and the bullets started? Oh, well. Sorry, the commercial flights between rich businessmen started and stopped. All right.
Time that included the United States, Israel, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Jordan, Bahrain, and Egypt.
And Egypt. And name all the countries in that region that weren't shooting at each other. Literally. I think the Abraham Accords seem to be only between countries that weren't at war. Like, let's find all the countries that are already not trying to kill each other and just get them to stay that way, but give it a name. It's like creating a diagnosis for a disorder that's actually in order.
Bet on the U.S. when Donald Trump was president. That coalition was built by Donald Trump, and it is now crumbling day by day right before our eyes. Now they're betting on China.
All right. First of all, we'll get to it. He'll explain how they're betting on China. I think it has probably something to do with their selling oil to them, because the United States produces 17.7 million barrels of oil a day. We use about 20, a little bit over that. We're lowering our usages and shifting to natural gas on a bunch of fronts. So we're eventually going to be the point where we don't purchase any outside oil or natural gas ever and end up selling any excess that we do have to Mexico or Canada or South America. And then these folks can be at each other's throats like everybody else was for the last 50 fucking years over oil.
Don't want to be on the wrong side in terms of what country ultimately wins out and is the world's most dominant superpower.
And by the way, in the world's most dominant, hold on one second. We have there you go. There we go. The idea that China, by the way, as the factory of these countries, which is what it's vying to be, is somehow also going to be a superpower over them, except in the fact that it can leverage material goods that they might need for their consumer base is an absurdity. The idea that a country like Saudi Arabia, which is used to controlling other countries by its oil production, is going to put itself in a position where China controls it because of some of its output, when, quite frankly, does anybody know where Saudi Arabia gets its military capabilities from? It gets all its high-tech stuff from us, and it gets all its shit from Russia. And China's been trying to move into that situation for a long time, been trying to buy, guns or sell guns and that kind of shit into the area, and everybody gets a good look at what they build and goes, what the fuck, you out of your mind? Our soldiers will die. And Russia would run in and go, our stuff better. And then they would sell them that stuff and it would break, and then they're like trying to suck up to us. And we're pulling our stuff back out of there because we don't want to contribute to, giant mass murder sprees anymore. We've seemed to have learned our lesson on a couple of fronts. And but I'm sure he's going to tell us how China is eating our lunch because they get to deal with the UAE and we don't over oil payments. Oops, hold on. I'm going to play in here.
Now, last month, China brokered a deal between the Saudis and the Iranians.
No, they didn't. The UN did. The Iraqis held the talks, and the Chinese just had the signing ceremony. The Saudis know it. The Iranians know it. Good luck.
I never thought I'd see that in my lifetime. Sunni, Shia, nope, they hated each other. Many are speculating it will soon now throw its weight into a deal between...
There's a big sniff. Throw its weight into a deal between what?
Saudi Arabia and Syria. That we hear is next. Meanwhile, according to the leaked documents, the UAE and Russia, they have reportedly deepened their ties, while Egypt, which, by the way, we give billions of dollars to, allegedly planned to secretly send thousands of rockets to Russia amid their war with Ukraine. In other words, they are choosing the other side. So,
and why can't we have those guys on our team, Sean? What? Why in the world? Oh, no, we're going to lose the Egypt account. Oh, dear God.
Our allies are now abandoning Joe Biden and betting against America. Look at what happened this week with the French President Macron, the leader of our oldest ally, visiting China last week, sucking up to and kissing the ass of President Xi in China.
We covered this already. Good Lord, what is wrong with it? It looks like we've got some really frustrated folks in the chat room. Hold on. Let's see. There you go. There you go. Yeah, there's a bunch of sniffs in here.
By the way, throwing the U.S. under the bus over the issue of Taiwan before...
It's just it's like him going, I'm full of shit every time he sniffs. Yeah.
Urging Europe to move away from their dependency on the U.S. dollar, the world's currency. Now, despite some backlash over his outlandish comments,
some backlash.
Macron, he's even standing by his remarks. Well, tonight I have a message for President Macron. You are setting a dangerous precedent. You are damaging ties with the country that has bailed you out time and time again throughout history. And if that's your position, maybe it's time to reinstate tariffs on, let's say, how about French wine and champagne? Massive tariffs, like, 25, 30%.
I know what you're thinking. You're like, Sean, what the fuck are you talking about? You didn't actually read the remarks. You didn't watch the actual speech. You're looking at two headlines put forward by a newspaper and assuming that that's the actual bulk of what was discussed or the reality therein. I mean, I don't even... Do we even have to discuss Sean Hannity's understanding of foreign affairs at this point? Like, we're ice skating uphill expecting this motherfucker to know anything about domestic stuff. Wait till he gets to talking about U.S. bridges. Whoops, hold on a second.
Or how about we stop funding the war on your continent in Europe, the war in Ukraine, until the...
Yeah. How about we start supporting Russia on behalf of China by not supporting Ukraine? How you like that? What the fuck? This is his answer. This is, yeah. I mean, this is, keep in mind, this is gibberish. This man is talking out of his ass. I think the sniffs are tiny farts, but how about we let Ukraine get killed? That'll show France. Huh? What if we let Russia win against Ukraine by not giving them any arms so that China ultimately gets its way and Russia can return to a massive trade partner for them? By the way, does anybody know which country has the most BRI debt, Belt and Road Initiative debt, with China? Anybody want to guess? Anybody got an idea? Russia. That's right. Exactly. $300 billion. Okay, here we go.
rest of Europe, like the French, until you step up and you pay your fair share, or better yet, well, Europe is your problem. It's not our problem anymore.
Yeah, we're not settling this fucking... If Germany decides they want Poland again, I don't know. I don't even know. At some point, is Western society even worth fighting for anymore? If China and France meet, next thing you know, they'll come up with a French term like, I don't know, spitballing here, chinois, to talk about the mix of culture and fashion that passes between them and has for centuries. And the idea, all right, whatever.
How would you like that foreign policy?
How you like that foreign policy? Where, how about this? How about you get your garbage off my lawn or I shoot her dog? The fuck did I have to do it? Mind your business, lady. Shut up, Germany. Everybody else in Europe, calm the fuck down. No. France, if you don't start speaking English, I'm going to kill all their pets.
From America. Now, unfortunately, this does not stop with Macron. Now today, Brazil's president meeting with President Xi in China. Everyone's going to China to kiss President Xi's ring, while Germany's foreign minister met with her Chinese counterpart. Hey, Sean Hannity here.
By the way, our ambassador meets with them all the time. We're not at war with China currently. He does know that, right? He's aware that we're not in a hot war with China at this point. Anyways, I think you get the important thing from that whole clip, I think, to gather is the attempt to try and stack things together, to kind of do like a Cliff Notes of a Glenn Beck clip, you know what I mean? Where he's trying to like stitch all these panics together until like that's just a wind up. That clip is what, 3 minutes and 27 seconds of effectively Hannity just winding up his viewers about China owns Biden. They have to. They're letting it, like, again, do they own Macron? Do they own Lula? Is that the argument now too? That it's all bribery? Did they own Trump when he let COVID roll because he wanted to finish his fucking deal?